Hello everybody, it's AskPat13. Welcome back to another live stream. If you're watching, after the fact, if this is the VOD, welcome in. Feel free to skip around. I'm going to be predicting North American RLCS, trying to see what I think is going to happen in this crazy hectic third regional where we will find out, it will be determined anyway, who will be the 4 teams headed to the major. We already know one, G2 Esports locked it in. They're going to be headed to the major. But we got to find out, to Copenhagen. We got to find out who the other 3 teams from North America are. Obviously, there are some favorites, notably Gen G is likely to also lock it in. And Luminosity, to the surprise of many, is also among the favorites to lock it in. But the 4th spot is especially up for grabs. It really could go any which way. And so I hope you enjoy this look into my thoughts on how I think this RLCS is going to go. Now, if you give me a minute, before we get into the predictions, I'm going to quickly go ahead and notify people that I'm live. A reminder, you can check out my Discord. That is where you would get notifications that I am live. Go ahead and notify people now. All right, there we go. And yeah, we can get right into things. Folks, how are we doing today? We got Hedge in the chat. Welcome, Hedge. How are you doing? I'm doing good. How are you? I'm especially excited. Let me quickly switch this over. There we go. I'm excited to be predicting the RLCS today. Let's see if I can get this. So I'm on camera. I got my microphone. Should be good, but let me triple check if I'm coming in clear. I'm just going to assume it has the right mic selected. You guys would probably tell me if it had the wrong one. You're playing Beat Saber. Oh, nice. Beat Saber can be fun. It can be exhausting. That's like a workout, that thing. Was it a workout for you? Your Beat Saber session? What was your favorite song of the evening? All right, so first up, now I'll wait for Hedge, take your time answering my question, but we're going to talk about this double elim bracket. So we've gotten to the top 16. We're going to reveal, we can start off by revealing 16 teams. So G2 Stride, Space Station, Omelette, OG, Gen G, Pirates on a Boat, Luminosity, and TSM all qualified through the upper bracket. Now, there's a couple big names missing. 2 teams in the major race dropped down to the lower bracket, although they both did ultimately qualify. First up, Dignitas dropped to Game 5 to Omelette, and they had to go make a run through the lower bracket. Same thing for M80, dropped to TSM. So 2 upsets there, but like I said, they both qualified in a sweep in their lower round matchup. Through the lower bracket, Boulevard got an upset win over Deleted XD, who did not qualify, despite making the 2 previous regionals. Then we had NRG, the Snowman, Young Whippersnappers, Shopify Rebellion, and then everyone clapped when the Muffin Men made it back. Especially of note is this is Squishy's final RLCS regional. The last time he will ever play in an RLCS pitch will be tomorrow, potentially, if they don't make it out of Swiss. So Muffin Men, a lot of people are going to be rooting for them to make a run just because it's Squishy's last run. All right, let me get back to the chat. It is, you were doing Expert Plus. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. Welcome, Ashan. How are you doing today? Hedge indeed. It's Hedge and Ashan. And Adam, welcome, welcome. You got the guy who makes the RLCS spreadsheets to help us with spreadsheets. Very nice, very nice. That's good to hear, Mr. Adam. You share a name with the guy that makes RLCS spreadsheets, Adam Core. Or at least part of a name. They do look quite good, and we will be getting into these predictions in a moment. Before we do, though, let's finish talking about this double elim bracket. So, obviously, the biggest shocker is, like I said, Dignitas dropping a series to Omelette, and M80 dropping a series to TSM. Other than that, there were some big surprises. So, Deleted XD did not qualify. And although Boulevard's not a bad squad, we'll quickly take a look at them, new to the RLCS this season anyway. Is Delta, Alraz, and Repeat. This is, I believe, a rookie appearance for Repeat. We can fact check that, but I've never seen him in the RLCS before. And indeed, although he has in the past played for Fisher, that's not Fisher College. That's a Fisher College logo, but I don't think that's quite right. Anyway, they didn't, he has not quite made it through to the RLCS. He's just barely missed out with Boulevard. All right, so Boulevard's first appearance. Other than that, another big shocker. Akron lost to a Fear My Chili squad that got swept by NRG. And if we quickly take a look at who Fear My Chili is, to be frank, I'm not sure who that is. So let's quickly look at it. Because they beat an RLCS squad, but it's always surprising that you see a team that had made RLCS this split not quite make it. Here it is. Fearless Chili and Riolet. Yeah, I've never heard of an Australian player playing in North America. Fascinating. Oh, they're in CRL. That makes sense. Okay. Enough about that. Back to this double limb bracket. In other news, Leftovers, a good squad, got beat by Shopify Rebellion. The Muffin Men beat G Buffo, a team that had made the RLCS. Same thing, incorrect. Lost to Young Whippersnappers. These were two RLCS teams. The Snowmen beat Plot Twist, another two teams that had made regionals. So you had a lot of doubled up regional teams that one of them had to be eliminated. Happened across the board. No way. Adam Core the GOAT. Yeah. You'd be W caster for Rocket Rivals. I appreciate that, Adam Core. So what exactly is Rocket Rivals? You said you're running a tournament? I'm probably not going to cast, but if the schedule lined up, let me know. Fearless? Oh, nice, Ashan, nice. How have you always played you've played so many bubble players? I feel like you've mentioned that before. Like, not Fearless, but other bubble pros. Does the M80 Swiss playoffs performance scores finally advantage? So Mystic, you make a great point. And fun fact, you might already know this, but I was watching the M80. I didn't get to watch a lot, but I did watch the end of the double limb bracket, so I got to see M80 after they had lost. I didn't get to see the TSM series, but I saw them play in-person university. The whole thing, I watched it live on Fear's stream, and Fear said they've got their one loss out of the way, because that's a fact that I don't think people have thought about. M80 have only lost in the playoffs before this point. They only lost one time for each event. They have the best win-loss record out of any team besides G2. And that includes after the double limb bracket to qualify for day 3. They have the best win-loss record of anybody that's not named G2. Obviously, G2, the big exception. So that's kind of crazy. They've only lost once per event, and they got it out of the way. That was their one loss. So now they can go win. They can win all 3 in the Swiss, and it won't matter because they've already got their loss out of the way, right? I mean, that's just a joking around, but maybe we'll see. I'm kind of rooting for them to make the major, especially after the Joyous video. So, I mean, that's a bit biased, but for anyone, is where I made a video where I interviewed Joyous. You should check it out. It's his story. I think I was trying to decide on the title. The title's going to stick. I just put it as, how did Joyous become the RLCS Swiss merchant? And it really is his tale as a pro, but it obviously touches on the highs and lows of Joyous' career, and a lot of that, a surprisingly large amount, revolves around how successful he's been in Swiss stage of tournaments and then come up short in playoffs. It's crazy. It's happened enough times to not to bring up questions. I think 4 or 5 times, twice on LAN, twice this split, and then North American. So I mean, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right. You've wanted them to do well this whole time. Nice edge. Well, I know, Sean, I had a Rocket Rivals tournament. I know. Adam, I had a tournament called Rocket Rivals, funny enough. So it's funny. It's not a unique. I knew when I made it, it probably wasn't a unique name, but in case you were curious, it's not a unique name. I just did a one-off tournament, though. It's not a recurring thing. Champ 1 to 3 GC1-ish league. I gotcha. It's on Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Well, very nice. I don't want to say it's easy because it's not, but it's not as difficult as I thought it would be to make tournaments seem professional, because you can do a lot with a little bit if you put some effort in. G2 is the best team in NA. It took me a while. I'll own up to it. It took me too long to really see it, because after the first regional, I still wasn't convinced. Even with the way they trounced Gen G, I wanted to see a repeat, and they repeated. So yeah, G2 are legit. I don't know if they'll be top 4 at the major, but I know they can be. They can beat European teams. The question is, will they? Because it's one thing to have the ability to be one of the best teams in, or like not, they have enough ability to be one of the best teams in the world, but whether or not they can win with all the pressure of LAN and all that, I don't know. Because that's actually my biggest question mark for Daniel. I don't want to make this a hate G2 or hate Daniel parade, because it shouldn't be. They are the best team in North America, but despite everything Daniel's done this split to regain my confidence, because I really was down on Daniel after the spring split last season. He had a bad split. He did. Version 1 did, but so did he. Honestly, he's regained like a lot. I think like he's played so much better, but it's not just, it still doesn't finish. Like, how do I put this? I still want to see if he can play at this top tier level on LAN, because he hasn't showed that yet. Now, funny enough, he wasn't bad on LAN in spring. He didn't play on LAN in spring. So maybe he's much better on LAN now. It's been so long, I have no idea. Anyway, enough, all that to say, G2, great team. I'm just curious how they'll do against the top teams in the world. I'm really curious. How I got the interview. Ishan, you asked the question. Literally, how you just asked me, basically how it went. I DM'd him on Twitter, a cold DM, and he just said yes. And there you had it. That's pretty much it. I will say this was a long delay. It was a long process, because when I asked him before the season began. I asked him before, yeah. Actually, I asked him after the first qualifier. So when North America played their double elim bracket to get to the first, so before the first Swiss stage in Regional 1, it was like when this top 16 had been settled, but before the final that weekend, I asked him, and or was it might have even been earlier than that. I don't remember. The point is, I asked him a while ago, and we didn't get an interview. Like, it had to wait a bit, but I was fine with that. I was like, you're just telling me you can't do it until such and such. Yeah, let's schedule it that day, because of course, I'm gonna say yes to that. So, no, but he was really nice. He was actually so nice. Like, I don't want to like nothing. He didn't say anything that can't be said publicly, but in the interest of his privacy, I won't talk too much on it. But I will say he was super nice, because I had actually only scheduled. It wasn't even, but basically I told him half an hour, and we ended up talking for just over an hour. So I was really grateful that he was willing to keep answering my questions, and it's funny because the video is 29 minutes long, so you wouldn't know it, but we were talking for over an hour, and I really do appreciate all the time he gave. And it was so cool too, because while we're talking, he's literally sitting next to Nas and Nick, because they're in a boot camp together, and they were all just sitting together. He's just playing Rocket League. Nas is just playing Rocket League, and well, that's probably obvious. I've noticed this about pros. Especially since they are talking about Rocket League, makes sense. But if they're not doing something that requires them to be away from a computer, he's like always grinding. So he was literally, while we were interviewing, he was literally in free play, which is just funny to me. But that makes sense. It makes sense. Ishan, yeah, you should totally try it out. Thanks, Hedge Mystic. Yeah, it was so awesome. It was so awesome. There's going to be another video with Joris, because I did the around the pitch thing with him. Like, we did it, like we recorded it, but I couldn't fit it in. The documentary was so good, and that's what it became. I didn't intend, I didn't start out interviewing him with like, I'm going to make a documentary. I was just trying to make my little interview series where I do a mini documentary, but then the main focus is supposed to be that like around the pitch interview. That went out the window when I was going in, not while I was doing the interview. While I was doing the interview, I was like, this will just be good to gather my thoughts and make the video as good as it can be. Then I was going through the footage, and I'm like, this is too good. This can't stay locked away and never seen. So I wanted to use all that audio from that interview. So I did. I used his audio to make that kind of documentary. And so the part where we talk outside the game and he just tells you about him as a person, I still have that, and I'm gonna make a video out of that. It might take a while, because We'll see. Well, not a while, but it might. I want to do prediction videos. It's again because I haven't done them in ages. The power rankings, I should say. I want to redo a power ranking video is my next video. Anyway, Twitch gives the streamers so many tools to make it look so good. It's not even Twitch, like, because I don't stream on Twitch. So not to say Twitch does give lots of tools, but when I was saying that, I'm not even talking about Twitch because I don't stream on Twitch. I stream on YouTube. So it's insane how much you can do with OBS, really, open broadcasting software. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this. So we've talked about how we got to this top 16. We have the top 16. How do I not have 1,000 subs? I appreciate it, Adam. Well, especially that recent video. We'll see. I'm hoping it does well. I have no idea how it'll do. The YouTube algorithm is a fickle thing. It's doing well, the video, in terms of watch time, but I knew it would because it's a long video. So long videos are always gonna get more watch time. But no, yeah, we'll see how it does in the algorithm. All right, that's actually why I want to try vertical streaming. We'll do it another time. I decided not to do it for today, but at some point I might try streaming that's intended for your phone, because I've heard it goes straight to the shorts algorithm, and the shorts algorithm is apparently really good for getting subscribers. Not much else, because they don't necessarily stick around, and I don't want fake subscribers or anything. But you know what? If I might try a shorts and see if I get a bunch of people new, because that's what the shorts feed's really good at, is the shorts feed. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, YouTube Shorts is like YouTube's version of TikTok, and they just have it on YouTube. And if you're on your phone, you'll see these shorts. They're like TikToks, they're short videos, but apparently live streams can now appear in that feed if you do the vertical format where you're like a phone screen. And because the algorithm just feeds people directly to your live stream, they don't have to actually click anything. They just swipe and it takes them right to you, and they don't decide. The algorithm does for them. You can get more viewers that way if you hit the algorithm. But anyway, let's do the predictions. You're right, Adam. Enough talk. Time to predict. Starting off, and it's unfortunate for the Muffin Men, but starting off with G2 versus the Muffin Men. And everybody loves Squishy Muffins. He's honestly it's not a bad team. Gimmick, you know, legendary world champion, Aqua, better than I expected. I've ever since Aqua joined RLCS, I didn't know what to think of him. He came in as a heralded pro, kind of like Daniel at the same time as Daniel, and got really outshone. Because as much as I was just talking down Daniel on this G2 squad, I wasn't trying to, or I shouldn't say talking down, because I'm not talking him down. As much as I have doubts about Daniel, it's doubts on, is he like a world champion level? I have no doubts that Daniel is one of the best players in the world. It's just, can he be a world champion one day? That's the only thing I was left wondering. Aqua, it's like a lot more questions. Anyway, all that to say that this is not going to be close. I'm going to call it a sweep. Maybe Muffin Men. Maybe Muffin Men, so buoyed by the knowledge that this is their final event together, because that happens sometimes. You go on like a Cinderella run when you know you're splitting up. In fact, I talk about that with Joria's in my Joria's video. Oxygen performed better in Gamers 8 after they knew they were splitting up. They had already decided to split up before Gamers 8. And like, I think we all knew that. I don't know if it was public, but Joria's like confirmed it when I was interviewing him. And he didn't say it outright, but he was hinting at it, and I believe it to be true, that when they played better because they any animosity, if not that there was, but it's easy to like set aside animosity when you know you're splitting up, and so no one's mad at each other. There's no secrets. You know who's leaving, you know you're splitting up, so no one has to feel stressed about getting kicked. That's already been done. So now you can just get out there and put it all out on the field, and that's exactly what they did. And maybe that's what Muffin Men will do. Because although Squishy's retiring, Aqua is not retiring. Gimmick is not retiring. So hey, maybe they show out. That I say that, and then I still give G2 the sweep. It's because it's G2, okay? It's literally G2. Next up, Genji Snowman. I don't think this one will be a sweep, but I do think Genji are going to lock in. They're pretty safe for the major, but they're not a lock yet. And I think that they're going to be on fire until they're locked into the major. I think apparently Jack, he's had some weak points to split. Honestly, he's probably the weakest link right now on Genji, but he really knows how to lock in to qualify for a LAN. And I think Genji's going to do that come Friday, come tomorrow. Wow, it's tomorrow. Came up quicker. It came up quickly, huh? Then next up, this is sad because both these teams are really fighting for a spot in the major and they have to face each other in round 1. And that's Dignitas' fault. They lost a match they shouldn't have lost to Omelette, and now they're paying the price by facing Luminosity a bit early. It's not like a unwinnable, but I actually favor Luminosity. Now, I am a fan of Luminosity, so a little bit of bias there, but they've been playing so well. Like, unironically, this Luminosity squad, they're going to make the major. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to curse it. But it's looking heavily likely, and I have full faith, full confidence that they can and they will make the major. And I think they're better than Dignitas. It's crazy because after the first regional, I was so high on Dignitas, and I still think they're a top 6-7 team in North America. They're still in that fighting, that bubble that's fighting out for the major spot, but I don't think they're top 4 anymore. They've fallen from grace, and we'll see if they can regain, but I'm not sure they'll be able to. Next up, Omelette versus Young Whippersnappers. Now, interestingly, we've seen Young Whippersnappers come out and get some shocking upsets. They did it in the very first regional when they qualified. They made it to round 5 of the Swiss. And Omelette, although on paper is favored, has struggled this split. Their best win by far was this win over Dignitas to make it through uppers. Other than that, they've struggled. I mean, they also beat Plot Twist, so they had some good wins. I don't think they continue their double limb bracket run though. I think Young Whippersnappers gets the crazy upset. We'll also call it a game 5 for Omelette's sake. But yeah, I think Young Whippersnappers are gonna show a lot like they did in the first regional, because this is a big moment. There are so many teams, so many bubble teams in North America that will make it to one main event and we never see them again. I remember last season, or maybe it was even the season before that, Integrity Esports came in, and I believe Cheese was on that squad at the time, and Cheese, No Mansion, somebody else, and then they made that one event in the very first of the split, and then never again. And although Cheese ultimately found success, a lot of his teammates didn't. And I think these squads, when you make one regional, it's like you made it, but then it's like it's not over. You got to keep fighting. And the fact that Young Whippersnappers was able to fight and make it again, that's the kicker. The fact they can do it, it's not a fluke. They didn't just make it once, they made it twice. So I think Young Whippersnappers are legit RLCS level at this point. Hey, we're not predicting EU right now, Adam, because I have no idea if Vitality makes the major. Oh, that might sound crazy to say, but it's true. Vitality could miss out if they underperform in the final regional. They're on the cusp of missing it, so could go either way. Mystic says, I didn't see this series, but Snowman took a game off G2. They did. That's true. That is true. Snowman, it was able to snap a game, but I mean, that's why I think they'll be able to take a game off Gen G as well. But I don't think they're good enough to be beating those teams in a series just yet. Maybe they will one day. I think Scribbles he's legit. I think Scribbles is of all the up and coming players, the two I think will land on top tier teams in the near future, or at least they will land on a top tier team at some point in their future. There's two of them, 5UP and Scribbles. Those are the two guys I'm looking at that, like, those are the next two up. I think in the offseason between the majors, if teams make roster moves, which they will, I think some of the top teams that miss this first major, maybe a Dignitas, maybe a Space Station, maybe an M80, whichever one of those three doesn't make it, two of those three don't make it. I think you look to take a Scribbles or a 5UP. Probably 5UP's, I think, proven himself a bit more this split, but Scribbles is getting there too. Maybe too early for Scribbles, but 5UP has been in playoffs twice now. Pirates on a Boat maybe make it 3, and 5UP's a large part of why. So 5UP might be there already. He might be ready for a spot on a top team. We'll have to see though. Adam says first killer looking washed. FaZe was his peak. He is not washed. People are saying that, and I know Roldiz said it on First Touch. He is not washed. I think, and I know Roldiz is known First Killer personally and was coached First Killer. I think he's salty. I hate to say that. I don't think Roldiz is like a person that holds on a I don't think he's holding a grudge or anything. But I feel like subconsciously he has some bias there. Not even, I think that's fair to say. Of course he's biased. He knows First Killer personally. There's some personal stuff between them. So I don't think he's trying to be, but I think there's some implicit bias there. He is not, First Killer's not washed. That's just crazy to say that. Crazy. Way too soon. Welcome, Faith. Welcome. Where can I get this form? So if you go to @AdamCore on Twitter, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Go to this guy on Twitter. and he makes the forums. Check him out. Super grateful for Adam Core for making these forums. Be at Faith, go check him out. Welcome, Andrew. How are you doing, Andrew? I'm having a great night. I hope you're having a good one as well. Glad to see you. We're predicting North American RLCS, and then I got distracted by chat, but we'll get back into it in a moment. Genji gonna troll semifinals? Maybe, but that's the thing is I also agree Genji are gonna make, like, they're gonna get far enough. So for Genji, I think they only need 1 or 2 wins in Swiss, and the point is I have them, well, we'll see, but I believe I will have them make it out of Swiss. Pirates on a Boat make grand finals. For the record, Pirates on a Boat, I think that the crazy thing to me is before this split started, they were not on my radar in the slightest. Then they get Achieves, and they're still not on my radar. Like, don't get me wrong. We all love Achieves. He's undeniably, and I think this, obviously being a coach helps me say this, but it was true before as well. Achieves was the most analytical caster there was. Like, he knows his analysis stuff. He's not faking it. And obviously, but like, obviously because he's coaching a top 8 team now. But so Achieves is like a legit an analytical guy, and he knows what he's talking about. So they get him as a coach, and that did raise my estimation a tiny amount. But Achieves hadn't been a coach before. He was unproven in that role. Then they make top 8, and I'm like, is it Achieves? Is it the players? I don't know. Will they repeat? I don't know. Then they do. And it's like, whoa. And I'm just going to skip ahead to talk about Pirates on a Boat energy because we're talking about them. But Pirates on a Boat, they blew my mind. Not the fact they made playoffs, but that they were consistent about it. They did it the second time, and they looked good. Like, this isn't, and I know they haven't done great in playoffs, but they're looking so solid that even, like, obviously numerically they're in the race, but I just want to reaffirm to everybody that Pirates on a Boat are in the race to make the major. They have just as much a chance as Space Station, just as much as chance as M80, just as much as chance as Dignitas. But Dignitas may be a point ahead, but that'll mean nothing if Dignitas doesn't make semifinals. To really feel any safety at all about making the major, you have to make top 4 this event. And Pirates can do it. And so to get to what you were saying, Don YXD in the chat, Pirates on a Boat reach grand finals. I don't know if they'll get that far, but crazy as it may be to say, I know they can get that far. I don't know if they will, but I know they have it in them. And that's shocking to me because I would not have said that at the first event. All right, let's predict it though. Pirates on a Boat, I'm just talking them up, and yes, I do think they're going to be NRG. NRG is not a bad squad. I'm going to call it 3-1, but NRG have not wowed me this split. And I know they literally just got top 4. So, or well, wait, was it top 8 or top 4? I don't remember. They did great last event, but it wasn't enough. Like, they're not, I don't want to fact check myself. It was top 8, right? Now I'm doubting myself. I know they lost to Luminosity. Okay, yeah, they lost to Luminosity in the quarterfinals. So yeah. So NRG, a great team, but I don't think they're going to make it to top 8 again. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe they prove me wrong. But I think NRG is still too inconsistent for my liking. Although Drees is looking much improved, I will say. Much improved is Drees. All right. Adam says, I hope they don't get 4th with 4th killer. Hey, the curse. So if I ever got the honor of interviewing First Killer, you know how I basically made Jory's video about the curse of being the Swiss merchant. First Killer's video would be about the curse of being 4th killer. Sent you a few more things than normal. Don't gotta review it all on stream. Well, Sean, I'll check it out at the end. So if anyone wants me to review your predictions, you can send them to me on Discord, and I'll check it out after I'm done with mine. And actually, I'll also do pick stop and other things, but we'll check out viewer predictions at the end here. And in fact, I just realized to be a little more engaging, I'm gonna start a poll. I won't let this bias. I guess you'll just have to trust me. I'm not going to let it bias my predictions, but I'm going to ask, who do you think wins? Who wins NA Regional 3? And then I only can put 4 options, so there's only going to be 4 options. But if you disagree, say... Or actually, I'll make the 4th one other. 1 second. I got to do too many things to make this happen. I want to look at the points. I'm like, who is 3rd in the standings? Ah, it is Luminosity. Other. Okay, so we're going to do G2, Genji, Luminosity, or other. There we go. Who wins the final event? This way will be a little more engaging. You guys can vote, and we'll see who has the most votes at the end of the stream. All right. Let me read chat again. NRG will sadly win against Pirates. Maybe. Top 8. Who do you guys think is going to get top 8? Pirates on a boat or NRG? Maybe NRG do. All right. Next up, OG versus M80. Another unlucky run this time for OG to run into an M80 squad that dropped it. But again, M80 can only blame themselves after losing to TSM. And I think I'm going to favor M80, but it's going to be a close one. I think OG are looking much improved. Obviously, this is a rematch. OG beat them in the playoffs. But for whatever reason, and I think it's knowing you have so many losses to give, M80 play better in the Swiss. It's just a fact. I don't know why. Like I said, I have a hunch. I think that, I don't know if it's a Joreous thing. It could be a Joreous thing. Maybe it's this team's thing. But I think it gets in their head when they're on their last life. And on single limb, obviously, you're always in your last life. So if you lose, you're out. And that can make you nervous. In Swiss, there's so much less importance on the first match of the day. Because if you lose, you have 2 more losses to give. Like you have a lot of room. You have a lot of wiggle room. And I think that M80 thrives in that environment where they do have a lot of wiggle room. Next up here, TSM versus Boulevard. I'm not going to say Boulevard has no chance, but this is a match that TSM should win, and I think they will win. 3-1 over Boulevard. And then last but not least, another tough one. 2 teams in the running to make the major. In fact, I almost didn't even talk about them. Rebellion, they're behind because they missed the last regional event, but despite everything, they're still in the running to make the major, although it would likely take a grand final appearance. M80 do have a high peak. They do. Others equals Pirates on a boat. Thank you very much, Dawn. Maybe they win. I doubt it, though. G2 is winning the vote right now with 3, or make that only 2 votes, 40%. So we're pretty split. And I do think that G2, Genji, Luminosity, I think any of them could win. And there's a few others as well. Obviously, the heavy favorites are G2. You'd be crazy to think otherwise. But heavy favorites does not mean it's a lock, because it's not. In RLCS, you know, on the day, on that championship Sunday, anything can happen. An upset can happen, or earlier for that matter. But I think G2, although they're the favorites, it's not like a 100% type deal. The coach should just lie to the team and still. Oh, Mystic! If only the players were not to be mean, but if only they were that dumb right now. They're smarter than that, Mystic. They understand the format. Swiss has been moved to Saturday too. Y'all are fine. That'd be funny. Okay, I've been putting it off because this is a really tough match to predict. Space Station Rebellion. It could go either way. It really could. I'm going to favor Space Station, though. I think they've looked more consistent. They've only lost to Genji or G2, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I want to fact check that. But I believe they've only lost to Genji or G2 this season. Yep, they've only lost to Genji and G2, and honestly, I think that continues. They're not invulnerable. They went to a Game 5 against Akron. They went to a Game 5 against Luminosity. They went to a Game 5 against Pirates on a Boat and NRG. But despite all of that, despite the close games, I think they have another close game and they take down Rebellion. All right, next up here, G2 versus Young Whippersnappers. I was hyping up Young Whippersnappers, and that was for a reason. I think they're way better than I expected after seeing them make their first regional, and getting to the second one helps reinforce that. But it's G2. It's G2, and it's not going to be pretty. I think G2 have been dominating some of these lower ranked opponents. You know what? I take it back. I'm going to give them a game. I don't think G2 is flawless in the Swiss, and I think they drop a game here to Young Whippersnappers, but it's not enough. G2 is on a different level. Yeah. Luminosity are good, though. And 2 other teams that are good, and it's funny that they're running into each other again. Genji versus M80. This M80 squad cannot catch a break. They have run into Genji every single Swiss so far. And I know this is just my predictions, but I expect it to happen again. I think M80 and Genji will run into each other again. And I think, like the first 2 times, I think it's a matchup problem, personally. I think M80 take it. I think they've won 3-1. They've won in a sweep. I think this time it goes to Game 5, but I still favor M80 to take that over a Genji squad. Next up here, TSM versus Space Station. Another spicy matchup, but I think it's another one that Space Station can win. I think they're going to lose to somebody outside G2 and Gen.G eventually, but I think they're legit, and I think they can take that over TSM 3-1. Next up here, another match with potential major implications. Luminosity versus Pirates. Pirates are not a bad team. They aren't. And I just talked them up. You know what? Let's do it. Luminosity are good, but honestly, after everything I've seen from Pirates, this is way more of a coin flip than I'd personally like to admit. I'm a Luminosity fan, but that's much more of a coin flip than I really like to admit to myself, because they're looking so good, Pirates, that I think they can take down Luminosity in a game 5, and I think the upset's going to happen. I think Luminosity are going to start feeling the pressure of just almost being at Major, and that might get to them, the nerves of being on the verge of qualifying for Major. We saw Optic struggle with that. In the Spring Major, they needed to do well to qualify for Worlds, and they frankly dropped the ball. So we've seen that with this team before. Obviously, that team was a little different and did not have... It had AJ in place of Cheese, but I still think it's a similar squad. All right. Next up here, Omelette versus Muffin Man. Spicy one. Omelette is on paper the better team. I think, especially Gimmick, the odd man out on Muffin Men. Not quite out on his prime form, the days when he was a world champion. But hey, you know what? It's Squishy's last run. I talked about what that can do to teams, and I think that will revigorate Muffin Men, because Aqua and Gimmick are playing for their lives, and not in this event. I mean, they're playing for tryouts next season. They want to look good so that they get tryouts, because if they don't, they might not find a good team. So I think they're going to be playing lights out, and they're going to take the win over Omelette. Next up here, I see Mystic disagrees. No worries, Mystic. He thinks Omelette could get it. Gimmick was never great. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ishan, this is revisionist history. Gimmick was great when they won the World Championship. It can be fair to say, and even true to say, that he was the weakest of the 3 on his team. But to say he wasn't great is like, it's like lying to yourself. But not, that's a rude word. I don't mean to be rude. What I mean to say is, that would be like saying Radosin isn't a great player because Alpha and Zen are better and will have longer careers, which is probably true. The second part, that his teammates may be better than him. But I would, for the same reason, I would argue Radosin is great. Gimmick similarly great on his World Championship run. A miracle of a World Championship run, to be fair. They looked like underdogs the whole way. But coincidence? I think not. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But see, there's the thing is, I think, here's what it is. I think people think to be great, you have to be Zen. You have to be Vatira. You have to be the best in the world to be great. But in reality, that's not true. If you've ever been at any point in your career one of the best 20 players in the world, you were great. Like, you don't need to be even top 10, I think is a border a lot of people use. I don't think you have to have been top 10 in the world to be considered great. Because maybe that's what you mean. I don't think Gimmick was ever top 10 in the world. That's a fair statement to say. But I think undoubtedly he was top 20 in the world in that time of the world champion run. And I think it would be a disservice to argue that's not great. But you're entitled to an opinion. This is opinion. So I will concede, you're welcome to disagree. And I wasn't actually a fan of Rocket League during that run. So I've watched VODs. I've watched it back, but I haven't watched as much of that season. Season 6, right? Or season 5? I haven't watched as much. See, I don't even remember the season they won the World Championship. I haven't watched as much as someone that watched it all live, to be fair. But I have seen it I believe I watched the entire VOD of that Grand Finals. Yeah, I did. But I didn't watch all of their other matches in the World Championship. All right, let's keep going. OG versus Snowman. I will favor OG here, but if this does happen, this could easily be another 0-2 OG, because Snowmen aren't to be trifled with. They're not a bad team, and this is like a sleeper matchup. Oh, I messed up the image. This is a sleeper matchup. This is like the kind of matchup that OG going into thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna beat them, and then they don't. So look out for this. This is a sleeper a sleeper upset. All right, next up, Rebellion versus Boulevard. I don't want to underrate the team that's new to being in RLCS this season, but Rebellion should win this. I think Boulevard, again, not a bad team, but I think Rebellion is going to come out really with a lot of fight because their major is on the line, and I think they're going to sweep a team like Boulevard with their back against the wall. You know what? Yeah, Sean, you're welcome. You know, you're welcome to feel that way. Again, maybe you've watched more of that season than I have, because I certainly haven't watched the whole thing. Dignitas versus NRG. Ooh, one of these two teams is going 0-2, and that is crazy, but it's not going to be Dignitas. I think NRG, unlucky to run into two tough teams, two top 8 teams in the region, really, in a row, but that's exactly what's happened, and NRG take a game, but they ultimately fall to a Dignitas squad that is still in the fight and still willingly fighting to make the major. All right, we get to round 3. The first 2 teams will be eliminated. The first 2 teams will qualify for top 8. And oh my goodness, whoa, it's the first time M80 has to play G2. Which is stronger? Being the best team in North America or being the best Swiss team in North America? Ooh, spicy. And you know what? Maybe this breaks the curse for M80. But I think they lose to G2. I really do think they lose to G2. I don't even think it'll be game 5. I think they drop that one to G2, but maybe this is what they need. Maybe that's finally what they need to to break the curse. Mystic thinking they sweep G2. Maybe they do. If they did sweep G2 though, I guarantee it. If they swept G2 in this scenario, they're losing in the quarterfinals. It's not if they beat G2, it's if they sweep them. I don't know. That would be like karma, like some weird mystic karma thing. Like they sweep G2 and then immediately lose. I don't know. No. But I'm gonna shy away from that. But I will say they take a game off G2. Next up, Pirates Space Station. I want this to be the one, the upset for Pirates, but honestly, I think Space Station have been underrated. I think they're gonna perform better than they have in past events. I think they're gonna still be able to take down Pirates, but that could be upset. Like Pirates could take that. It's definitely it's really close, that one, really close. Welcome, Funi. How are you doing today? I appreciate it, Funi. Welcome. We're doing predictions. I just had to make some tough choices here, but I think Space Station beats out over Pirates. Very close one though. Oh, Sean, maybe you haven't heard. Oh, even better than last stream? I don't believe I've changed any settings, no. But I don't believe so. Maybe I did. Maybe I did and I forgot about it. I don't know. SSG is the 3rd best team in NA. Sorry, not sorry. Oh yeah. Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. They easily could be, because again, they've only lost to Genji and G2. So, for example, M80 has a better win-loss, but arguably Space Station has a better strength of record. That's really hard to determine, strength of record, but if there was a way to determine it, I imagine Space Station would have a stronger strength of record. All right. Awesome. I appreciate it, Sean. That's good. That's good that it sounds better. All right. Next up here, Gen G versus the Muffin Men. I like the Muffin Men, but I don't like them enough to pick the upset over Gen G. It's a similar story as the G2 one. I think Gen G are here and they're not here to play, and they're gonna knock out Muffin Men 3-0 there. Welcome, LN. There's no blank sticky note on my hat, but you did make me check, LN, so there you go. Now you got me paranoid. There's nothing on my hat. If you're talking about the logo, it's a logo. Made me look if that's what you're talking about. It's the RLCS logo. In fact, actually, you know what? If this was a legitimate question, I was just funny, because otherwise I'll be like, oh man, you got me. But if it is a legitimate question, then there you go. So you might not know it because they don't really advertise it a lot, but this is the new modern RLCS logo. It's not nearly as iconic as the old logo, but it is the logo. And I bought this hat at the Boston Major, Spring Major last season. I want to go to a major this season, but I don't know if I've said it, but I am not going to the Copenhagen major. It was way too late notice for me to fly out to Copenhagen, so missing this major, but hopefully I can make the next one if it's in North America, or Worlds if that's in North America as well. I will say West Coast will be tough, but if it's on the East Coast, like even Boston's like a far trip, but it's just close enough that it was possible. All right, Luminosity versus OG. Let's not mince any words here. This is pressure because the loser of this match has to win 2 in a row to make top 8. And Luminosity wants to make top 8 to lock in a major spot. OG has to make top 8 to even have a chance at making the major. They really need further than that. So this is a lot of stakes. This is a lot of pressure. These two teams, they know major stakes are on the line here. Similar story, by the way, the next matchup, TSM Dignitas, has a very similar story. So there's a lot on the line. And I don't want to get burned by OG. So I'm going to say Luminosity. But OG really, and it wasn't just that they made top 4, but they really played a lot better last regional. I still don't think it'll be enough to take out Luminosity. Obviously, Luminosity won the last matchup, so I don't think that's that crazy to say. I think OG could win, but I don't think they will against Luminosity. You drove 13 hours to Boston with you. Oh, I didn't even know you were there. Wait a minute. I didn't know you went. That's cool. But I flew, but I could see why you drove, because man, those flights were expensive. But yeah, and I, as you know, I'm also from Florida, so similar. It would have been a similar drive, and I'm not here for that drive. That's a lot of driving, but I understand why. Yeah. Well, I said I can't afford flying to EU for the record. Or who said they're flying? Because I said I can't do it, so, and I'm not going to EU. It would be. Or I guess I didn't. I said that it would be too late notice, but in part it's too late notice because the flights are more expensive. For the record, that's a large part of it. It's not that I'm sure if I had enough time, I could save up and go to a European land, but that would be like a big trip. That would be like a once in a few years like type vacation. So, not gonna happen. It should be more organized for the next major. Yeah, maybe Mystic. Maybe they will be. You grew up in Eastern Colorado. Road trips to Texas were 20 plus hours. Oh, I got you. Wow. Those are long. North Carolina. Oh, yeah, you're in North Carolina. I've also lived in North Carolina, which is hilarious. Wait a minute, Hedge, we've swapped places. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. But anyway, all right, let's get into this next one here. I've been putting this off because this is a tough one. TSM, for all their struggles this season, are not a bad team. And I know they have the ability to take down Dignitas. But I think with all the pressure on the line, they've actually crumbled a lot recently under pressure. And I do think Dignitas, with a steady hand like Arsenal on deck, I think they're going to be able to take down TSM in a game 5, a close one. But I think they can lock in, take down TSM, and get one step closer to maybe making the major. Don, going out to Saudi Arabia for Gamers Day would be even more difficult. I guess it's not that much further, but I'd have to look into, I don't know how visas work, if I could just go as a tourist. Maybe I could just go, probably actually could, but I'm assuming it'll be even more expensive, probably. I don't know. That'd be a lot. All right, final match in this middle round, Young Whippersnappers versus Rebellion. And as much as I've been talking up Young Whippersnappers, and I do believe in them a lot, I think they dropped this one to Rebellion. But I think they put up a surprisingly tough fight and take it to game 5. All right, next up here, Omelette versus Boulevard. I hate to make Boulevard go 0-3, but frankly, Omelette's just better on paper, and it should be in reality as well. Then next up here, NRG Snowman. This is a spicy one, but for all the possibilities for Snowman and the fact that they easily could win a match along this way. I don't want to say I'm cursing them to go 0-3. I favor NRG there. I favor NRG, but I'm going to give Snowman a close one. Game 5. You never had any longtime friends in high school? Really? I mean, I had a lot of friends in high school. I've only kept up with a few. One person in particular I keep up with a lot. But I'm surprised that you had no friends. Snowman over NRG? Sean, I'm sorry, man. NRG just made a top 8. Like, they've proven that they're not complete garbage. Not that you would be if you lose out. I shouldn't say it like that. But NRG have proven they still have a little bit of gas in the tank. All right. Oh my goodness. All 3 of these are incredibly spicy matchups, especially these top ones. Because Pirates on a Boat versus Dignitas, this could be for a major spot. Well, I mean, we don't know, but it could be. This has major implications. MAD Luminosity, Genji Rebellion, everything has major implications here. Let's start at the top. Pirates on a Boat, Dignitas. And despite how good Dignitas have been, this is where I think I really do see it. I see a Pirates on a Boat squad that has been the most consistent. I think they're going to be able to take down a Dignitas that struggled last event. I'm going to maybe a bit of an upset pick there, but I think Pirates have it in them. Next up, Luminosity M80. I'd love to pick Luminosity, but it's M80 Swiss, and losing to G2 doesn't change that. It's just G2. They're just too good. So I think 3-1 and M80 win there. Finally, Genji versus Rebellion. Rebellion have got a top 4, but I think that was on a slumping M80 that has proven they're better on different days. I think Genji can take this, but I'm going to give Rebellion a game 5 because I think they're a good squad and they're putting up a huge fight to try and make the major here. Same thing as all these teams, really. That brings us to some elimination matchups. OG versus NRG. And again, as good as NRG has looked, I think OG's looked better recently, and I do think they can take down the NRG squad. Next up here, TSM, Omelette, similar story. I know I'm not picking a lot of upsets, but I think TSM can take down Omelette, and they won't struggle too mightily there. Then last but not least, oh man, they're lucky to run into each other, but it's Muffin Men versus Young Whippersnappers. And funny enough, I mean, this certainly could go either way, but I think we got to favor the run. I think we got to favor the run, the last run from the Muffin Men, and they take down Young Whippersnappers in a game 5. And here we go. That leaves us with our last round. Let me check out chat again. Reminder, folks, you're welcome to chat along. Vote your thoughts on who you think will win the event. Majority of the vote has gone to G2 right now, but we've also got some votes for Luminosity, some votes for Genji, and if you think someone else will win, let me know in the chat. This last round is tough because you're eliminating a couple teams that are in major contention. Actually, let's get this first out of the way, because as much as I love the Muffin Men, I think this is where their run comes to an end. I think the magic only goes so far for Squishy. He's a great player. In fact, I'll just say it. Of the 3 players on Muffin Men, I'll give him a game 5. Of the 3 players on Muffin Men, Squishy is still the best, but he's retiring, and that's probably for his best. I think Squishy is going to enjoy not having to stress about the game anymore, because even though Squishy is still good, he probably isn't good enough to be making majors anymore, at least not consistently. And if that's the reality, and if he wants to retire and focus on content, power to him, man. He's earned it. He's earned it. I gotcha. A few phone numbers, not that much. Well, no worries. It's funny because for a little bit I was really just texting, calling every so often the one friend, but now we're both working at the same place. Funny enough. The person I'm talking about that I've kept up the most with from high school. Viscay in the chat says, I think the OG NRG matchup will be a lot less close. Hey, you know what? You might be right, Viscay. You might be right. But I'm gonna give NRG at least that much. I think NRG, I thought they were done. I thought they were washed. Not washed like as all of them individually, but when Drees came in, I'm like, they've got a sub. They're not gonna perform. I know Drees has been a pro, but he had stopped grinding the game. He was taking a break. He was their sub. I'm like, he's just a sub. But Drees has shown that he still is playing like an RLCS pro. So despite my reservations, NRG made playoffs last regional, and they proved they're still at that like top 12 level. I don't think they're gonna make it out of Swiss, but they're not a team to be underestimated. I'll say that much. Squishy versus Musty rematch? Hey, maybe. Well, let's keep it rolling though. The toughest matches have to be called here, and I do believe it will be Luminosity over TSM. Now, Wavy, Hockey, Creams, they're they're such a good team, and I don't want to underestimate how good they've been. I'll call them a game 5 here against Luminosity. But this Luminosity squad, they're built different. They're gonna be going to LAN. I believe they will anyway. And I think TSM, not a bad squad, but again, gonna crumble a little bit when their backs are against the wall, and they have to do well this event. That leaves our last matchup here, Dignitas versus OG. And I know this is basically 0 upsets, but I've got to pick Dignitas. I think OG are great team. But again, backs are against the wall, and OG showed in the very first regional that they can crumble. And although Dignitas also had a bad regional, their bad regional was round 5. Whereas OG didn't win a single match. And I think that Dignitas are going to be able to take that over OG. And that leaves us with, oh my goodness, with a bunch of high stakes matchups. Because these two matchups, Dignitas Space Station and M80 Pirates, are basically major must wins if you want to make the major. A great question in the chat from Dawn. Why did NRG kick Toasty? That's a great question, and I don't have a great answer. We don't know. We won't know for sure. It's private, right? The full reason is private, but I think it's a little. What we do know is the obvious. Toasty had never really played on a top team. He played on Oxygen in the past. He played with Gimmick, but we're talking about Gimmick. He had played with Gimmick, but he had never played for an org as big as NRG, for a team as historic as NRG, with a player as historic as Garachi. I guess Gimmicks is historic, but point being, this was Toasty's biggest break, and for whatever reason, at least as far as we know, he seemingly might not have the mentality that a player like Garachi would want to have, or he might not have the work ethic, maybe, we don't know. But something didn't click. Basically, whatever they had in scrims that made them sign him, they didn't like it. And another reason why, in my opinion, is Toasty was a replacement. Like, Toasty wasn't actually NRG's first choice. NRG was playing with Eris, right? Eris. And before the season began, they signed, like literally signed Eris, were paying him a paycheck, was NRG, and then kick him before a single RLCS match. In his place, they picked up Toasty. I don't think they kicked Eris to pick up Toasty. I think they kicked Eris because something went wrong. Like maybe there was a falling out. Maybe the team got into a fight. We don't know. And then Toasty was the last second replacement. And that's why they kicked him, because he was a last second replacement and it didn't work out. How accurate were my previous predictions? Don, we don't talk about my previous predictions. Not very accurate. They weren't terrible, but they weren't very accurate. Welcome, Harvinder. How are you doing today, Harvinder? I'm doing great. It's been a fun prediction. We've got our quarterfinals left to predict. I've done a whole Swiss bracket, and I am worried because I'm sure I'm gonna mess up some of these. It was Frosty. Yeah, my bad, Viscay. You're right. It's Frosty. Duh. And it was my bad. And exact same thing though. Well, what I was saying wasn't about Eris or Frosty in particular. It was just that's the situation happened with NRG. Frosty, well, it was about Frosty in particular. But anyway, take what I said and replace it with Frosty, because basically we don't know what. But honestly, my question would be, why did they kick Frosty? Because we know why they kicked Toasty, and like I said, we don't know the specifics, but we know that Toasty was the last second replacement, and that's probably why he got kicked, because they didn't properly vet Toasty, because he was their best last hope. But Frosty, he was their first pick, and who knows why that didn't work. You're doing good, Harvinder. Good to hear. How are you excited for tomorrow's event? And also, who did you vote for in the poll? We've got a poll going. Who do you think wins North America Event 3? Obviously, a vast majority are going to say G2, and I totally get it. They are the favorites for a reason. We've also got some votes for Luminosity, a vote for Gen G, and a few votes for others. If you vote for other, feel free to say who you think will win. I was limited. I could only pick 4 options. Let's start talking about quarterfinals, though, because this is where it gets tough. This is where you gotta win if you want to make it to the major. Luminosity, they may have locked in major at this point. I'm not sure, but if they haven't, they need one more win. And even if they still need to win, I don't think they can. Like, I love Luminosity. They're a great team, and they deserve to be in that grand finals. Just last event, but if this is a rematch of that grand finals, I think it goes the same way. I think G2 is pretty unstoppable right now, And I think they can be stopped, but I don't know if a North American team can stop them. Next up, Pirates versus M80, a very spicy, very critical match if you want to make the major, because if you lose, you are out. This is one thing we can say for sure. Lose this match, you are out of the playoff race. And as much as I've talked up Pirates, I've said how good they are, and I believe that. They are good. I think this is finally the moment for M80. The curse has been broken, in large part because they lost. They lost both to G2 in round 3, and they also lost in the open qualifier, the double elim bracket. So finally, M80 get in here. Exactly. I mean, a bit lucky here for M80, but hey, they get it. Luminosity is the only team who can beat G2. Maybe Harbinger. Maybe they are. They got a bite at the apple last event in the grand finals, and you know what I will say? Knowing Retals, and this is a bad thing to say, but it's been true. I think Retals teams are really good at locking in mentally, except in like critical moments. Grand finals is obviously a critical moment because you lose and you're out at second. As odd as it sounds, quarterfinals are going to be less pressure, especially if they've locked in the major. Because like I said, maybe they've locked in the major. I don't actually know. If they've locked in the major at this point, I think they could beat G2. If they haven't, I think they lose. And I guess what I mean by that is if the pressure is off, I think they'll play better. So we'll see. And I think if you're ever going to beat G2, this is the time to do it. I think G2 plays better the farther the events goes on. And the easiest time to beat them in the playoffs, as funny as it sounds, is the quarterfinals. All right. He's a great captain. I was saying a mean thing there. I don't mean to be rude, but I do think despite all his great, qualities as a captain, one thing he hasn't been so great at is, like I said, pressure situations. Every match in Rocket League is a high pressure situation, but especially when qualification is on the line, when elimination points on the line, he can have nerves. Everybody has nerves. It's natural. And Sean, that is also a good point. Yeah. So I will say this, Reynolds is a great player, but he's definitely a better captain. But being a great captain doesn't automatically mean success, especially in a game like Rocket League where you still have to be one of only 3 players on your team. You could be the best IGL, which if you don't know what that means, that's a shortening of in-game leader, which is a term used often in a lot of other games that have like 5 or even 6 players on a team. When you have 5 people on a team, one person can be a little bit worse and be the best IGL, and it's still worth it if they're the leader. In Rocket League, you are a third of the team. You do need a leader and they need to be good, but you could be the best IGL in the world, the best commer in the world, like comms is in like communication with your teammates. And it won't matter if you're a third of the team and you're just not good enough on the actual Rocket League part. So anyway, not that that's Reynolds, because that's not Reynolds for the record. I'm just saying that hypothetically, you could have a player like Reynolds that's even worse mechanically, and that it wouldn't matter if he was better than Reynolds as a leader, but worse than Reynolds as a player, it might not work out. All right, let's keep going, because similar to this M80 matchup, this Space Station Dignitas matchup is elimination from the major. Lose this, you are out of major contention. If Dignitas win and M80 lose, they make the major. If Space Station wins, loses here, and M80 loses, they would tie. And you know what? I do think Dignitas could take this, but frankly, again, I think people have been underestimating Space Station just because they keep losing to G2 Genji. I think this is the first time they finally don't have to face G2 or Genji, and they finally get a win. I'll call it game 6, Dignitas, make it a bit close, make it a bit, sweat a bit, the fans, but ultimately Space Station prevail and move on to the semifinals. You feel OG is underrated? Hey, maybe. Next up, Genji versus Rebellion. And I do like this Rebellion squad, but I think Genji, I think they got one up on this Rebellion squad. I think Rebellion peaked at the first regional, and they're not a bad team. Clearly, they're making another top 8, but I don't think they'll be able to overcome Genji. I'm going to call this one a game 7 though. I think they make Genji sweat. A bit surprising that it would even get to game 7. I think people are like, oh my goodness, where we might have 3 teams trying to make the major, another potentially major elimination here. But I think they ultimately lose to Genji. Next up, G2 M80, a rematch from Swiss Upper Stage Round 3. And for everything M80 have done to get to this point, with all the stakes on the line, making the major, all that, I still don't think it'll be enough. And I literally just interviewed M80, so I'll just say it. Maybe I'm a little biased towards M80 right now, and I kind of would like them to win. Like I want to see after all, you know, the video and all the work. Like I've been studying Joy's story for like 2 weeks making this video. I want them to make the major. I want there to be a happy ending to that story. I really do. But it's G2, and I just don't think they're good enough to beat G2 right now. And maybe against my better judgment, I'm going to call it a game 7, but I don't even know if it'll get that far. I don't know if it'll get that far. I think G2 comes up clutch. If comm goes combo, they win a lot of games. OG, maybe. Oh, this is a spicy one, because if Space Station can finally put away the demons and beat Gen G, they will qualify for the major. But I don't think they do. And this isn't just me wanting M80 to get one last shot, because that might be how it comes across, because that would be what happens. If they lose to Gen G, which I think is going to happen, there will be a tiebreaker. Between Space Station and M80, there will be a tiebreaker match to qualify. But I think Gen G is just better. I think Space Station, you know what? I'm not even call it Game 6. I won't even call it Game 7. Space Station is really good, but I think that there's a clear gap between, maybe it's a mismatch in playstyles between them and Gen G. And I think Gen G clears them there in that matchup. And what a familiar sight in the Grand Finals. It's a rematch of the first Grand Finals, G2 versus Gen G. And as much as I would love for it not to be a three-peat, not because I hate G2, but three-peats are boring. I think it's going to be a three-peat. Again, I hate three-peats. I think they're boring, but it's a three-peat. And I think this one will be a little closer than their last Grand Finals, but not by much. 4 games to 2. I think G2 dominates and wins another regional event. Yep, another rematch. That's true. They played in an earlier round in Regional 2. So there you have it. I am predicting G2 to be the ultimate champions, which does match the fan vote. 64% of you guys do believe in a G2 win, which makes sense. It makes sense. Now let's look at all important points ranking, and critically here, it is showing a divide, but there is no divide. If they are tied, they will play a qualifier to make the major, and that qualifier, sorry, I say qualifier, it is a qualifier, but they will play a tiebreaker is the better word to use. They will play a tiebreaker to make the major immediately following. So basically, what would happen here is after these 2 matches are over, while G2 and Gen G are playing, M80 and Space Station already know that immediately after the Grand Finals, they will be playing one single best of 7 to qualify for the major. It will happen on stream, and it will be immediately following the conclusion of the Grand Final. They won't even stop the stream. They'll keep it going, play one more match. So I think that might ice out these teams. Space Station and M80 have to get iced. They have to sit and wait and watch and prepare, and then play a match after G2 and Gen G play for the rights to win the to win the event, I should say. Sorry. Then they'll play one tiebreaker to see who wins. And since we're predicting, I might as well predict. Are you lagging, Adam? I don't think I'm lagging. Oh, apparently other people are. I'm sorry, guys. If it's not just one of you, then yes, it's me. Sorry about that, guys. It's telling me I have an excellent connection, but it might be lying. Sorry about that, guys, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. So what I was saying is I still want to predict. Oh, that's the Swiss results. I still want to predict, because if I'm doing predictions, I might as well predict. M80 versus Space Station to make the major. Who wins? Frankly, I am torn. I almost want to plead the 5th because I want it to be M80. So I'm just going to tell you, because I would love this if this is my basically dream scenario. Luminosity and M80 make the major, and the easiest way for that to happen is Gen G also makes the major. Like, that's just the reality. So G2, Gen G, Luminosity, M80. That's who I want in. And you know what? It could happen, so why not? M80 take down Space Station in a Game 7. Game 7 OT. You know what? Make it a fun experience for the viewers. Game 7 overtime. Game winner by NAS. Not Joreuz, NAS. Take NAS with the game winner. to send him to NASA's first ever major. That would be pretty hype. That would be pretty hype. And I do believe that would be the first time a RLCS rookie had changed regions and made a major. Now, obviously, it's not officially changing regions because NAS never played in European RLCS. But we all know, like literally, he moved from Europe where he grew up and played ranked and became a player. He moved from Europe to North America before his first ever RLCS split, and then still qualified for a major as a region transfer. Like that's definitely the first time that's ever happened. That'd be cool. Only 4 Harbinger, which is crazy, right? Last season it was 5. So if this exact scenario happened last season, both M80 and Space Station would make it, and they wouldn't play a tiebreaker. If teams are tied in points and they both qualify, there's no tiebreaker. Instead, they go to the other tiebreakers that don't involve playing a match. So 4 teams from NA, 4 teams from EU. Let's quickly take a look at the major. Oh, this is a great song from Turtle. So let's get into this. This is the major. 4 teams from Europe, 4 teams from North America, 2 teams from OCE, 2 teams from South America, 2 teams from the Middle East, 1 team from Asia, and 1 team from Sub-Saharan Africa. It's gonna be an absolute banger. And the reality is only 4 teams from North America can go. And to answer your question, Harbinger, because you're talking can OG make it? They actually are in the running because they are tied with M80. They are tied with Pirates on a Boat. They're tied with Space Station. It's just in my prediction they didn't make it, and they're only 1 point behind Dignitas. So Dignitas is sitting in 4th, but they're only 1 point ahead of these other squads of M80, OG, Pirates, and Space Station. So unironically, all these teams from Shopify up, including NRG, who I discredited. Not to be, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I did discredit them. All of these teams are still in the running. And in fact, technically, mathematically, there are some other teams that could make it, but I'm here to tell you that everybody below TSM has no real shot. Like, it would take so much of a miracle for these teams to qualify that it's not even worth talking about. And then Boulevard, that is like the actual, like, there's one path, and it means Boulevard has to win, and Muffin Men has to get 2nd, and Young Whippersnappers have to get 3rd, and point being, it's a really weird, wacky way they would make it. Boulevard for the major. Can you imagine missing the top 16 twice in a row and then still making the major because you won the final event? That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. So yeah, Power is dominating OCE. So if we quickly want to talk about it, we might as well. Power is absolutely slamming OCE. They have won back-to-back, but it wasn't just that they won. It was that everybody else, actually, let me go back to the points ranking. It's that everybody else has been splitting up top 4, splitting up, semifinals, like making the grand final. Pioneers made a grand final and then got out at top 8. Chiefs got a top 8 and then made it to grand finals. So, and then Gremlins got twice in a row, got top 4. So you've got 3 teams tied for 2nd place. By the way, this is probably the most exciting race, I will say. I'll just say it. The most exciting race for the 2nd spot is going to be in OCE, because whoever makes the grand finals will be that team, unless Power, for whatever reason, get out at top 4 or lower. Then whoever wins the regional will make it to the major. So it is like, unironically, Championship Sunday is going to be so hyped for OCE. That's a very hyped Championship Sunday, and unfortunately, it's on so early that I'm not gonna watch it, not live anyway. But that's a very exciting matchup. And yeah, Pioneers, it's not that they choked, because again, the fate is in their hands. So before you say they choked, they still control their own fate. All they got to do is make the grand finals or win the regional, and they will be in for sure. They control their own fate. But yeah, it's definitely not a good look. Other than them, Ground Zero and Kaka's minions, crazy as it sounds, they're still in the running too. Like, realistically still in the running. The winner gets 16 points and the grand finalist only gets 12. How many points are they behind? But 3. They're only 3 points behind Pioneers, Gremlins, and Chiefs. So if Ground Zero or Kaka's minions win the whole event, they also qualify. So literally all these teams, all these 5 teams control their destiny. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to win with power in the way. But the point stands that all these 5 teams completely control their fate. Because if Ground Zero or Kaka's minions made the grand final and lost to power, they would still have a tiebreaker against some of these teams. So the point being, it's all in their hands. Like, there's 5 teams that all could be the second, and I have no idea which one it'll be. I mean, I know who it'll probably be, Pioneers, but there's no guarantee. That is not a guarantee. All right. Next up, let's quickly talk about MENA, because they've already started. MENA is a day ahead of time, so they've already played their Swiss bracket. And I actually didn't check the results until just now. So one upset, Nightmare made it through upper bracket, I believe, in the double elim. We can actually fact check that. They did. They upset Vision and then ultimately only got 1 win in Swiss. That's a bit surprising. Rule 1, another game 5, this time against Nightmare, a loss against Falcons. But other than that, pretty clean going. Who else? Twisted Minds went undefeated. That's a good sign for them. In fact, let's quickly check out the playoffs. Oh, a bit lucky. Rule 1 avoided Twisted Minds out. They might have to play them early. Falcons got unlucky by having to play Vision. I know Rock beat Vision, and if we check out these teams, Team Rock is this Dr. Known Nush Ops. This is kind of a funny team because if I'm not mistaken, Nush is a content creator in Saudi Arabia, and a pretty big one. Like, he's a pro, but he's like a pro content creator that's like got a pretty big following. So it's funny that his team's doing so well, but they beat Vision, a team that should have beat them, really. Abdullah, Twiz, Zizonix. That's a tough round 1 matchup. Now, Falcons will handle them. Don't get me wrong. This will probably be a sweep, but it's still a tougher matchup than I would have expected in round 1. Who else? Bravado got picked up. So this is a squad that I forget what they were going by before, but they got picked up by Bravado. Nodder, Vampires, Venom, a good squad. Some good teams here. I think the big surprise is that Rule 1 had to play from, they lost, so they had to play Falcons so early in the first one. Where is, what's his name? I don't know where that one guy's team is. The young up-and-comer in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to forget. Infinity. Yeah, where's Infinity? Did they not make it? Or no, Infinity was Bravado. I'm silly. Anyway. He's so good at once? Yeah. He is. Nush is pretty crazy. Still sad Secret won't make the major. Hey, Secret might make the major, but yeah, they probably won't. Team Rock's a good team to talk about. Yeah, Nush is, so yeah. I'm sorry, I'm reading chat now, guys. I'm a little behind. But yeah, Nush is pretty crazy. I haven't, like I said, I haven't watched a lot of him, but the fact that I've heard of him is telling. Because if you've heard about somebody from MENA, they're pretty good to start making waves. Yeah, wait, which team was Dark? That's who I was looking for. I'm like, I'm forgetting the name, but I knew there was someone that was missing. I'm assuming he just didn't make top 16 because I don't see him. So for whatever reason, Dark missed out. Let's see if we can find him. I'm not seeing him. There's an easier way to do this, I'm sure, but I can't see it. Wait a minute. Is this a European team? There's a European team that made top 64. That's pretty wild. He did not make top 64. That's crazy. Or no, top 48. He didn't make top 48. Dark was on Zone? Did they like disband? Whoops. I just blinded everybody. Sorry to blind you for a second. Is this the wrong Dark? This is the wrong Dark. Isn't it like Dark question mark or something like that? Does he not? He doesn't have a Liquipedia? Really? How does he not have a Liquipedia page yet? That is annoying. Okay. So we can't find it, but I assume he just didn't play. I believe he didn't play. All right, next up, let's talk about South America, because this is a crucial one. There is a lot of teams in this race as well. Well, not really. I say a lot, I shouldn't say a lot. There are 3 teams in this race, and technically, none of them are a lock because, well, Furia is pretty safe, but Furia isn't a guarantee. And the reason why they're not a guarantee is if they get some unlucky run in the Swiss, all it takes is having to play a Complexity and Ninjas and losing to both in Swiss, and they could get a really terrible matchup in round 1 of the playoffs. And again, if you lose in round 1 of the playoffs, you only get 6 points, and you could easily miss out. So all these 3 teams have to make semifinals or better to feel comfortable, especially Ninjas in Pajamas. They're the ones playing from behind. They're 4 points behind Complexity, and that's a lot of ground to come up to cover. So they got to do pretty well in this final event. Complexity, you know, also not safe, but in between the 2 levels of feeling comfortable. Yeah, that's so weird that Dark doesn't have a Liquipedia. But anyway, and then as a great point, as you said, Team Secret, although they're not mathematically eliminated, they are so far behind the top 3 that they are pretty much out of the running. And that's despite getting top 8 twice in a row and having to play tough teams. So unlucky for them. All right, we'll keep going here. One moment. What's up next? Pick stop, I guess. Let's quickly do pick stop. Actually, I'm gonna show this for a minute while I log into pick stop. Because I always do this thing where I refresh it and it's like, oh yeah, you gotta log in. Okay, I think we're fine. Okay, so we're just gonna copy what I did, like what I actually did. We've got G2 Space Station, Genji Pirates, G2 Space Station, Genji, Pirates on a Boat. I know I had M80 in there, I had Dignitas, Rebellion, Luminosity. Got our top 8, a pretty safe top 8 besides maybe OG, not picking them. And then the ones that go 3-0, I have G2 in Space. Maybe this is crazy, but, oh, that's the wrong one. G2 in Space Station. Then teams that go 0-3, I had Boulevard and Snowman. I hate picking the like underdogs, but that's the reality. Oh, come on. Why does it keep doing this to me? Another error. All right. It logged me out, but only after I submitted the picks, which is annoying. Okay, well, let's do that again. Gotta pick all this over again. They got unlucky, got Furia and Complexity and Quarterfinal. Yeah, so Sean's saying Team Secret getting knocked out by Furia and Complexity back-to-back quarterfinals. And yeah, they just got unlucky. But that's also, point is, if you want to be one of the top 2 teams in SAM, you have to beat those other teams at that level, and they needed to beat one of them, really. That's just the long and short of it. If they were a top 2 team in SAM, they had to beat one of them, and they didn't. So, unfortunate for them, but that's just the realities of it. All right. So then last but not least, I want to go through this. Oh, I got to log into this too. Too much going on. Okay, here we go. So last but not least, I want to do the Fantasy Rocket League. So I got to pick a team. I think I did pretty bad last time. So let's quickly take a look. How do I check my results? I guess regional 2. Total points. Where was I? Let me check. Overall, yeah, I did pretty bad. I did pretty bad. And if we look at the team, who in particular did bad? Arsenal, not great. Chronic, not great. Hockey, not great. Radosin did all right. Rise did all right. Evo did good. So let's keep those 3. We're going to keep Radosin, Rise, and Evo, and we're going to switch it up. So let's keep Rise. Rise, Radosin. And who was the third one? Evo. He is expensive, but that's okay. Okay, so we got Rise, Evo, Redocin. Who else is cheap? Let's go all the way to the bottom. And we have got Astral is really cheap. Drees is really cheap. Actually, that's all, probably the best pickup, really. Oh, no, it's Itachi. Look at that price on Itachi. I can't let Itachi go. That's so cheap for Itachi. Oh, Mark by 8 is tempting, though. He really did pop off for Team 3. I've been tempted. Mark by 8, he was looking so good. I think I will put him on defense, though, but Mark by 8 was looking insane. All right, let's scroll back down near the bottom. How much money? We have 3,100. Maybe random spot in the middle, like around 1,500 level. We could get Jorius. We might as well. Let's get Jorius. Let's throw him in there. Might as well. How much? We have 1,600 left. So let's get somebody at the 1,600 level. Got Justin, Derji, Mist, Andy, Seiko, Joyo, Frosty, Creams. How is Beast Mode that cheap? I want to spend all the money though. And it looks like he didn't do great individually, so I feel like that's bait. Let's get Justin. I don't think they're gonna do incredibly fantastic, but let's get Justin. There we go. Rounded out the roster. Let me know what you guys think. Oh man, wait, I thought I was reading chat. I had check closed. Look who's 13th in the league. Cream said 660? No way, Cream said 660. Well, look at Cheese. My goodness. Cheese popped off. Can I sort by previous points? I don't think I can. Apparently he did, but I will say, I was looking at Evo, and the points weren't right. Or not Evo, Rise. 504. He had more than that, right? And same thing, Redocin had more than 488. So I don't think that's perfectly accurate. I think that's from the first regional, maybe. I don't know. Whatever, I'm not going to second guess it too much. I'm locking it in. That's my picks. Let me know who you guys are picking for your fantasy. And last but not least for the stream, we're going to check out viewer predictions. So if you have predictions you want me to look at, send them over. Alright, let's check out this prediction from Ashan for the regional event here for North America. He has Muffin Men going on a run. I see that. They lose 2 times in a row, but then they come back. They reverse sweep the Swiss to make sure you send Squishy out with a playoff appearance, top 8. Then they lose to G2. G2 go on a run to win. Interestingly, you have Space Station make the major. Oh wait, or do you? Luminosity, oh they do. I'm gonna quickly cut to this. Luminosity, in your predictions, Luminosity actually go out really early, but they still just barely eke out a spot at the major. 1 point, 1 singular point over a hapless M80 squad. That is brutal if you're M80, but hey, that's life sometimes. Luminosity qualify, Space Station as well, obviously the big ones, qualifying by beating Gen G. A big win there. I don't know if it'll happen, but I do think it could happen. Other big things to talk about, you have OG knock Dignitas out quite early. A Dignitas that only also lost to Space Station in G2. That is brutal for Dignitas if that's actually what happens. My goodness. But, and they even beat Luminosity to get there. That's crazy. That's unlucky. But anyway, that's how life goes sometimes. OG, you had making it to top 8, but then getting knocked out by Space Station. Rebellion went to game 7 against M80, but ultimately lost. So some interesting picks. TSM qualified as well, beating Omelette, having made it to the top 3 round, but then losing. Another thing to note, Pirates, they go 2-0, similar to what I predicted, although different team they beat. They beat Energy, then they beat Omelette, but then they lose 3 times straight to G2, to Rebellion, and then ultimately, and probably the biggest upset of all these picks, to Muffin Men. Not impossible, but it certainly would be an upset. I like it, Ishan. It's a little out there, but not like to an insane degree. Not to an insane degree at all. He also sent South American picks, which is a little fascinating. So let's quickly check it out. Ishan, walk me through. Is there anything crazy I should be looking out for? Obviously, I see you've got Furia and Complexity making it through. Team Secret getting beat by Furia in round 2, game 5 there, but it wasn't enough. W7M and Gamer Legion also lost. Interesting upset, kind of sorts. True Neutral over Gamer Legion. A True Neutral squad that ultimately just barely sneaks into the top 8, but then gets the top 4 over Complexity. Because let's jump over to that. Complexity make it to top 8, but then lose to True Neutral, and then Secret comes up with a clutch win over Gamer Legion and True Neutral to make it to the grand finals. Ultimately, I don't believe that would be enough for Team Secret. I believe Complexity would still qualify, mostly because Ninjas, the golden opportunity was up for Ninjas to pass or tie Complexity, but they lost to W7M. So Complexity will still be the second team behind Furia to make it to the major. Interesting series of events there. And then last but not least, you sent me your fan Rocket League predictions. We've got Reveal, Astral, Daniel, Nas, LJ, and Seiko. Honestly, I like it. Nothing too shabby. I don't know Reveal. I don't know if he's worth it. That's obviously cheap for a player, so probably not a terrible idea. I just don't know Reveal well enough to really tell you if that's a wise decision. All right, there you have it, folks. That is all. Unless anybody else has something they want to share, I think we're going to end this stream there. That's pretty much it. Let's quickly check out these rankings. And I guess one last thing is I'm going to quickly share my thoughts on, the major. So obviously the favorites are your big 4 out of EU. Magnifico is sneaking their way, tied with Vitality, but I'm for now still excluding Magnifico. So you got your Carmine Core, your BDS, your Gentlemates, and your Vitality. You've got G2, and in my opinion, only G2 out of NA. No one from OCE, sorry, Power. You've got Furia out of South America, and only Furia. I love Complexity, but I think Furia, if any team in South America has a chance at winning, it would be Furia. And you've got Falcons and just Falcons out of Middle East, and that's it. So realistically, you've got 7 teams. 3 from EU, 1 from NA, 1 from South America, 1 from Middle East. And I feel 100% confident, you can quote me on this, one of those 7 teams will win the major. I know, that's such a hard thing to say. I'm joking, because obviously that's easy to say. But truly, I think those are the only 7 teams that have any chance at all in winning. Which one? I have no idea. But I think the favorites have to be Carmine Core. Until we see them play on LAN. Europe obviously locked out all 4 of the top 4 at Worlds. They were all from Europe. And although the teams have changed, the players have exchanged, which teams they were on. It's still, I think, a solid top 4 in the world until, a Falcons, a G2, a Furia, until they prove otherwise. So we'll have to see how they do. Well, thank you, Adam. I'll check it out. What do you mean by spreadsheet? You know what? Let me look. It's not RLCS? Alright, then I'll check it out after the stream, I guess. But thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. Oh, I see what you're... Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Alrighty. With that, I think, folks, we're going to end the stream here. Let me know in the chat, who do you think is going to win the major? I guess last thing, let's end this poll and let's start a new poll. Who do you think is going to win the major? And I know it's too early. Who wins the major? And, I know I just said the EU Big 4 are probably still the top 4 in the world, but just because it makes sense. there's only 4 options. I'm gonna do 3 from 3 different regions and have an other option. So who wins the major? Does Karmine Corps win the major? Does G2 win the major? Does Falcons win the major? Or does another team win the major? And let me know in the comments. Karmine Corps, 100% of the vote, actually 50-50 tie with Falcons fans. Could go either way, could go either way. Very nice, Adam. Yeah, I appreciate it. And then Sean sent one more thing. Oh yeah, you got top 13 in the last one. Very nice. You had a really good team, Twisted. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna end the stream there. The vote is tied at 50-50. We got 2 votes for each team. Karmine Corps and Falcons. You guys are split. I'll be the tiebreaker. I think Karmine Corps are gonna win. It is way too early to tell though. And all those teams I said, those 7 teams, they all have a shot. They all have a shot in it. So with that, we're going to end the stream. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out, if you haven't already, my most recent video. It's an absolute banger. I interview Jorius and we go through his story and how he became the Swiss merchant of RLCS. And I think you'll enjoy it if you check it out. And with that, I'm going to end it here. Definitely, well, maybe not for sure, but I believe I'm going to stream on Saturday. So look out for it. I want to do a watch party. Hopefully I'll get around to it. Check it out. And with that, we're going to end it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And that's it. We'll see you guys next stream. Have a good evening or night or day or whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you have a great one. Get my button ready. Oh, one last chat. Now that I already chose one, I think they'll all do terrible. No worries, Sean. And then thanks, Pat. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean, for being a supporter of the channel for so long and being a channel member. I hope you noticed I mentioned all the channel members, or well, mentioned. I had them on screen. It looks so much fuller now that we have all those other channel members in the outro of the video. You play on Sunday? Good luck, Adam. Good luck. All right, but let's actually end it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching the VOD after the fact, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at my predictions for North America, and we'll see you guys next time. Alrighty, have a good one. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye.